They called me weak during my early years, and by age 19, after 3 doctors looked at my thin body and gave their opinion, I began to believe them. My name is Thomas Beaumont Callahan. I am 19 years old, and my body has always felt like a disappointment, a group of problems written in bone and muscle that never grew right. I was born too soon in January 1840, coming 2 months early during one of the coldest winters Mississippi had seen in many years. My mother, Sarah Beaumont Callahan, started labor without warning during a dinner party my father was giving for visiting judges and planters. The midwife who helped her, an enslaved woman named Mama Ruth, who brought half the white babies in the county into the world, looked at me once and shook her head. "Judge Callahan," she said to my father, "this baby will not last the night. He is too small. His breathing is too light. Better get your wife ready for the loss." But my mother, sick with fever and tired from the birth, would not accept that. "He will live," she whispered, holding my tiny body close to her chest. "I know he will. I feel his heart beating. It is weak, but it is fighting." She was right. I lived through that first night and the next ones after. But living is not the same as growing strong. At 1 month, I weighed hardly 6 pounds. At 6 months, I still could not hold my head up. At 1 year, when other babies stood and some took their first steps, I could barely sit without help. The doctors my father brought from Natchez, from Vicksburg, from as far as New Orleans, all said the same thing. Being born too early had slowed my growth in ways that would stay with me forever. My mother died when I was 6 years old, taken by the yellow fever that spread through Mississippi in 1846. I remember her lying in bed, her skin pale like old paper, her eyes yellow and far away. She called me to her side the day before she passed. "Thomas," she whispered, her voice very soft, "you will face hard things all your life. People will think little of you. They will feel sorry for you. They will turn away from you. But you have something worth more than strong arms or legs. You have your mind, your heart, your soul. Do not let anyone make you feel less than whole." She died the next morning. I did not fully understand her words until many years later. My father, Judge William Callahan, was a strong man in every way I was not. 6 feet tall, wide in the shoulders, with a voice that could quiet a courtroom with one word. He had built his wealth from almost nothing. He started as a poor lawyer from Alabama, married into the Beaumont family's small plantation, and through smart deals and buying more land, turned those first 800 acres into an 8,000-acre cotton empire. Callahan Plantation sat on high ground above the Mississippi River, 15 miles south of Natchez, in some of the richest dirt in the South. The main house was a grand Greek revival mansion my father had built in 1835. 2 stories of white brick with tall Doric columns, wide porches on both floors, and large windows that let in the river breeze. Inside, crystal lights hung from 15-foot ceilings. Fine furniture from far away filled big rooms made for dances with 100 guests, and thick rugs covered floors of smooth heart pine. Behind the main house lay the working parts of the plantation: the cotton gin, blacksmith shop, carpenter building, smokehouse, laundry, separate kitchen, overseer's house, and farther back, the quarters. Rows of small cabins where 300 enslaved people lived in places very different from the mansion's comfort. I grew up in this world of great wealth built on great cruelty, though as a child I did not see the full meaning. I was taught at home by teachers my father hired one after another. I was too weak for the rough play of school, too sick to live away at academies where other planter sons went. Instead, I learned Greek and Latin, math and reading, history and philosophy in the quiet of my father's library. By age 19, I stood 5 feet 2 inches tall, the height of a boy just starting to grow into a man. My body was thin, weighing maybe 110 pounds, with bones so light that Dr. Harrison once said I had the frame of a bird. My chest curved inward a little, a problem the doctors called pectus excavatum, from ribs that never formed right. My hands shook all the time, a small tremor that made easy tasks like writing or holding a cup need great care. My eyes were very poor, needing thick glasses that made my light blue eyes look huge. Without them, everything was a blur. My voice never grew deep, staying in that middle sound between boy and man. My hair was fine and light brown, already thinning though I was young. My skin was pale, almost see-through, showing every vein below. But the worst thing, the one that would shape my future most, was my complete lack of normal male growth. I had no real beard, just a few soft hairs on my upper lip that I shaved more from wish than need. My body had no hair, smooth like a child's, and the doctor's checks had shown what my father feared. My private parts were very small and undeveloped, making me unable to father children. The checks started soon after my 18th birthday in January 1858. My father had set up a meeting with a possible bride, Martha Henderson, daughter of a rich planter from Port Gibson. The visit went badly. Martha looked at me once and could not hide her dislike. She spoke politely for exactly 15 minutes, then said she had a headache and left. I heard her tell her mother as they went away, "Father cannot really want me to marry that child. He looks like he would break on our wedding night." After that shame, my father called Dr. Harrison. Dr. Samuel Harrison was Natchez' best-known doctor, a man trained at Yale in his 50s who worked on what he called men's health and family lines. He came to Callahan Plantation on a warm, wet February morning, carrying a leather bag and a calm, cold manner. My father left us alone in his study. Dr. Harrison had me take off all my clothes, then spent the most embarrassing hour of my life checking me. He measured height, weight, chest size, arm and leg length. He looked at every part of my body, writing notes in a small book. He spent extra time on my private area, touching my small testicles and speaking out loud about their size and feel. "Much smaller than normal," he said, writing, "like those of a boy before manhood." When he finished, he let me dress and called my father back. "Judge Callahan," Dr. Harrison said, sitting in a leather chair, "I will be plain. Your son's problem is not just general weakness. He has what we call hypogonadism, a failure of the male parts to grow properly. This likely came from his early birth and slow growth after." My father's face stayed calm. "What does this mean for his future, for marriage, and carrying on the family?" Dr. Harrison looked at me, then at my father. "Judge, the chance of your son fathering children is almost none. The tissue is not enough for making healthy seed. His body clearly makes too little of the male strength, as shown by his lack of normal male signs. Even if he married, joining in bed might be hard, and having a child would be, in my view, impossible." The words stayed in the air like a final judgment. Impossible. My father was quiet for a long time. "You are sure? As sure as medicine can be. I have seen maybe a dozen such cases. None father children." "I see. Thank you, Dr. Harrison. Payment will be sent to your office." After the doctor left, my father poured himself a large glass of bourbon and looked out the window at the river. "Father, I am sorry," I said softly. He did not turn. "For what? For being born early, for being sick, for being—" He stopped, drank deeply. "Not your fault, Thomas, but it is what we must face." But my father wanted more than one view. A week later, Dr. Jeremiah Blackwood came from Vicksburg. He was younger than Dr. Harrison, rougher in his check, harder in his touch, but his answer was the same: serious hypogonadism with no chance of children. The problem is lasting and cannot be fixed. The third doctor came from New Orleans in March. Dr. Antoine Mérier was a Creole doctor who had studied in Paris and spoke with a strong French accent. He was the kindest of the three, saying sorry for the personal nature of the check, but his answer was the same. "I am sorry, but your son cannot father children. The growth is stopped. Nothing can change it." 3 doctors, 3 checks, 3 same answers. Thomas Beaumont Callahan could not have children, was unfit for passing on the family, unable to continue the line. The news spread through Mississippi planter circles fast and completely, like gossip among people with little else to talk about. My father did not try to hide it. What good would that do? Any woman who might marry me would need to know. Better to be open than face trouble later. The Hendersons quickly said no. The Rutherfords, who had thought of their younger daughter, sent a polite note saying no. The Prestons, Montgomerys, Fairfaxes, all the good families who might have looked past my weak body for the Callahan money, suddenly found reasons their daughters did not fit or were already spoken for. But it was not only private refusals that hurt, it was the open words. I heard Mrs. Harrison at church in April. Such a shame about the Callahan boy. The judge has all that money and no true heir to leave it to. Makes you wonder what the use is. At a dinner my father gave in May, one guest, drunk on good whiskey, said loud enough for me to hear from the hall, "It is nature's way, is it not? The weak ones should not breed. Keeps the blood strong." A planter from Louisiana looking at a horse my father was selling said, "Fine horse. Good lines, strong build, proven breeder. Not like that son of yours, eh? Sometimes the breeding just fails." Each word cut deep, but I learned to show nothing. What good would it do? They were right in the way they saw things. I was faulty goods, a bad bargain, a branch on the family tree that ended. My father pulled away from me that spring and summer of 1858. He still ran the plantation well, Till worked as county judge, still went to social events, but at home he was far off, spending long hours in his study with bourbon and papers, working on something he would not share. I turned to books. My father's library held over 2,000 volumes, and I had read most by age 19. I loved philosophy and poetry most. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Keats, Shelley, Byron. I found comfort in words from men who thought about pain, death, and what it means to be human. I also started reading books my father did not know were there, left by old owners, or bought by mistake in groups at sales. These were abolitionist works, against the law in Mississippi. Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass from 1845. Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe from 1852 writings by William Lloyd Garrison and other Northern voices. I read these hidden books late at night when the house was still, and they upset me deeply. I had grown up believing slavery was natural, ordered by God, good for master and slave alike. The idea that enslaved people were lower, childlike, unable to care for themselves, this was what everyone around me said and taught. But these books showed something else. Frederick Douglass wrote with clear thought and fine words that matched any white writer I knew. He told of slavery's cruelty, the beatings, families torn apart, women used against their will, the mind pain of being treated as things. Uncle Tom's Cabin, though made up, showed slavery's wrongs with strong feeling. I started to see things I had ignored before. The scars on field workers' backs, the way enslaved faces went empty and quiet when white people came near, children who looked too much like the overseers, women who left the fields for months and came back without the babies they had carried, but I did nothing with what I saw. I was too weak, too dependent, too used to my comfort to stand against the system. I told myself I was kinder than other owners, that I treated enslaved people better. But kindness does not make slavery less wrong. It only makes the owner feel less bad about it. In September 1858, my father tried again to find me a wife. He wrote to families in Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia. He accepted lower standing, offered larger gifts of money, promised any woman who married me would live in ease and never want. The answers were all the same kind of no. Thank you for the kind offer, but Caroline is promised elsewhere. We thank you, but we do not think it a good match, though your son seems a good young man. We seek a different kind of future. That last one hurt most. Different future was a gentle way to say a husband who can give grandchildren. By December 1858, my father gave up trying. We ate dinner most nights in quiet. The sound of fork and knife on plate was all that broke the silence in the huge dining room. Sometimes he looked at me with an expression I could not read well. Disappointment for sure, but also something close to fear. The fight came in March 1859. It was late evening, and my father had drunk more than usual. I was in the library reading Marcus Aurelius when he came in fast. "Thomas, we must talk." I closed the book. "Yes, father." He sat hard, bourbon moving in his glass. "I am 58 years old. I could die tomorrow or live 20 more years, but I will die someday. And when I do, what happens to all this?" He waved at the room, the house, the land beyond. "The land will go to our closest male kin, I guess. Cousin Robert in Alabama." Cousin Robert, my father said angrily, is a useless drunk who has lost 2 small farms to debt. He would sell this place in a year and drink the money away. All I have built, all my father built before me, gone. I am sorry, father. I know this is not what you wished. Sorry does not fix it. He stood and walked back and forth. "For 18 months I have tried everything. 18 months looking for a wife who would take you despite your problem. No one will. No one wants a husband who cannot give heirs. That is the truth. I know. So I have had to think in new ways, ways that stretch old rules." His tone made me uneasy. "What do you mean?" He stopped walking and looked straight at me. I am giving you Delilah. I stared, sure I heard wrong. I am sorry, what? Delilah, the field hand. I am giving her to you as your companion, your wife in all real ways. The words did not make sense. Father, you cannot mean. I am not asking. I am telling you what will happen. His voice was firm now, the voice he used in court to give judgment. No white woman will have you. That is clear fact. But the Callahan line must go on. The plantation needs heirs, even if those heirs are not usual. You are speaking of breeding people like farm animals. I am speaking of keeping this family and this plantation alive. Is it unusual? Yes. Is it hard legally? Very. But it can be done, and it fixes our trouble. It is not my trouble. I stood, hands shaking more than usual. Father, what you describe is wrong. Not just wrong in some far-off way, but wrong here and now in a way I cannot accept. You want to use a woman's body without her say to make children who will be shaped by law tricks into heirs. You treat people like animals for breeding. You ungrateful. He stood, face red. Do you know what I have given up for you? The chance is lost because I had to find answers for my weak son, the shame in company of having an heir who cannot do the one simple duty asked of him. I did not ask to be born this way, and I did not ask for a son who would end the family line. He threw his glass, it broke against the fireplace. I'm trying to find a way, and you throw it back at me from some false high morals you got from northern books. It is not false to say people should not be bred like animals. Father, if you cannot see the wrong in what you plan, get out of my sight. I had heard overseers speak of her, that Delilah is worth 3 Norma. Hands, never sick, never complains, works steady. But I had heard darker talk too, shame to waste good breeding on field work. A woman built like her should be making babies every year. Now my father wanted to make sure that breeding happened. I could not let it. But what could I do? I had no power over the plantation. I was 19, weak in body, dependent on my father for money. I could not free Delilah. I did not own her. Even if I did, the law made it hard and costly. I could not help her run away. I hardly knew her, had no links to the Underground Railroad, knew nothing about planning escape. It was mid-morning on a Tuesday, so most field hands were working. Only a few people were about, an old woman by a cook fire, some young children, a man with a hurt leg sitting on a step. They all looked at me as I passed. It was rare for white people to come to the quarters except the overseer on checks or my father on visits, a thin young white man in good clothes walking alone there. I must have seemed very out of place. I asked the old woman which cabin was Delilah's. She looked at me with doubt. Why are you asking after Delilah? Young master, I must speak with her. It is important. She out in the fields, back at sundown. I will wait. The woman's eyes stayed narrow, but she pointed to the 3rd cabin in the 2nd row. That one. But I don't know what business you have with her. I spent the day in uneasy waiting. I could not go back to the house. My father and I were not speaking. I could not wait inside her cabin. That would be wrong. So I walked the plantation grounds, staying away from where my father might be, trying to plan what to say to Delilah when she came back. The sun was going down when I saw the field hands return. They walked in loose groups, tired from 10 hours under the March sun. Delilah was easy to see. She stood taller than most, walking straight though clearly worn. She saw me by her cabin and stopped. Master Thomas. The other workers looked and whispered. It was very unusual, the master's son waiting at a slave cabin. Delilah, I need to speak with you. It is important. May I? I pointed toward her cabin. She looked at the others, then nodded slowly. Yes, sir. When I stopped, she was quiet a long time. At last she said, So the judge means to use me like a mare? Yes, and I wanted you to know, to warn you so you could, I do not know. Get ready. Resist if you can, though I know that is near impossible in your place. Why? She looked straight at me now, fear pushed back by wonder. Why tell me this, Master Thomas? Why do you care what happens to me? It was a good question. Why did I care? I had lived all my life gaining from slavery without asking if it was right. I wore clothes made by enslaved hands, ate food cooked by them, lived in comfort from their work. What made this different? Delilah sat on a stool, looking suddenly very tired. Master Thomas, I thank you for the warning, truly. But what can I do with it? I cannot say no. If the judge orders me bred, I will be. If I fight, I will be whipped until I give in or sold to worse or killed. There is no way out. There might be. The words came before I thought them fully. She looked up. What? There might be a way. I have been thinking all day. If you were to run away, run to where? We are deep in Mississippi, patrols everywhere. I have no past, no money, no knowledge of northern roads, and I am a 6-foot-tall black woman. I would be caught in a day and sold south to Sugarland, where I would die in a few years. What if you had papers? What if you had money? What if you traveled with someone who could turn away doubt? She stared. Master Thomas, what are you saying? I took a deep breath. I am saying maybe we both leave together. We go north. I have money. My mother left me a trust I can use. Not a great amount, but enough to start somewhere. I can copy travel passes in my father's hand. We take a wagon and food and go. You cannot mean it. I mean it fully. Master Thomas, if we are caught, you know what comes. You would go to prison for stealing a slave. I would be killed. They do not just whip runaways here. They make public lessons, hanging, worse. I know. But if we make it north, and if we do, what then? You would lose everything, your money to come, your place in society, your family name. You would be poor, cast out. And for what? To help one slave when your father owns 300. It was the heart. Question. And I had no fine answer but the truth. Because I cannot save 300. But maybe I can save one. Maybe I can stop one wrong thing. And maybe that is better than nothing. Why me? You hardly know me. Because you are the one my father plans to harm. Because I cannot stop him keeping slavery, but I can try to stop him using you like an animal. And because I stopped. Because I think maybe we both need to escape. You from slavery. Me from a life of taking part in a system I now see I cannot accept morally. Delilah looked at me with those sharp eyes trained to hide their sharpness. You truly mean this? Yes. You would give up all to help me run. Yes. Even though you hardly know me, even though I am only one among millions, even though it may not change much. Yes, because it would change things for you. And right now, that is the only thing I can truly affect. She was quiet a long time. Outside, other enslaved people moved about, making evening food, settling for night. The sun was gone, the cabin had only faint moonlight through the window. I thought as the horses moved on. The real reason? I think. I have spent my life being told I am faulty, that I am less than a true man because my body does not work right, that I am worthless because I cannot give heirs. And I have believed it. I do not see how that connects to helping me. My father's plan would use you the way society has used me, reduce you to your body for making children, treat you as useful only for what you can make. And I saw I could not take part in doing to another what has been done to me. Does that make sense? Yes, she said softly. It makes full sense. We traveled night into morning. As sun rose, we pulled into a group of trees off the road. I freed the horses to eat grass. Delilah and I ate some food I brought. Bread, cheese, dried meat. We should sleep in turns, Delilah said. One watches in case someone comes. You sleep first. You worked all day yesterday. I only worried. All right, wake me soon. She lay on a blanket and slept fast. I watched her a moment, this woman I hardly knew for whom I risked all. In sleep she looked younger, less careful. The sharp mind she usually hid showed in the calm of her face. What had I done? I had thrown away my whole life on a sudden wish to save one person from one clear wrong. It was maybe unwise, surely dangerous, but it was the first time I felt I was doing something that truly mattered. Over the next 13 days we moved slowly north. We went at night, slept day, stayed away from towns when we could. I used the forged passes 3 times when patrols stopped us or we passed checks. Each time my heart raced as the man read the paper. Says here you travel on Judge Callahan's work, taking his property to Vicksburg for sale. Yes, officer. The judge wishes to sell some assets, and Delilah is good stock. Should bring a fine price. And why is the judge's son doing this, not an overseer? Father wants me to learn all sides of the work. Cannot run a plantation without knowing every part. The man would give back the paper, let us pass. Each time I kept calm face until out of sight, then almost fell apart with relief. Delilah was wonderful on the trip. She was stronger than me, more able, quicker to find ways. When a wheel loosened, she fixed it. When we had to cross water, she went first to test depth. When food ran low, she knew safe plants and how to trap rabbits. "Where did you learn all this?" I asked one night as we ate rabbit she caught and cooked. "You learn when you are enslaved. You watch everything because knowing can mean living or dying. I watched men fix wagons, learned plants from older women gathering herbs, learned trapping from my father before he was sold when I was 10. I am sorry about your father. Do not be sorry. Just keep going north." We talked on those long night rides, really talked in ways I never had with anyone. Delilah told of her life. Born on an Alabama plantation, sold to my father at 15, 9 years of field work that should have broken her but did not. She spoke of dreams of freedom she hardly let herself hold, of the constant care needed to live under slavery, friends sold away, sisters used by overseers, mothers parted from children. I told her of my life, the loneliness of being weak and odd, the learning that set me apart, the emptiness of having money but no true friends, the shame of being called faulty, the growing knowledge that my easy life rested on others' pain. "What if—" She stopped. "What if my choice is to stay with you?" My heart jumped. "Delilah, you owe me nothing. I did not help expecting, I know, but what if it is not owing? What if it is wanting? I do not understand." She came closer. "Thomas, these past weeks I have come to know you, truly know you, not as Master Thomas, not as the judge's weak son, but as Thomas the person. And that person is kind, wise, brave in ways he does not see. I am not brave. I am weak and sick, and you gave up all to help me. You risked prison and death. You travel through danger to bring me freedom. That is not weakness, that is courage. Delilah, even if you feel this now, you may feel different with true freedom, when choices come without need or thanks clouding them. Then let me choose now as free as I can." She took my hand. "When we reach north, I want to stay with you, not as property, not as servant, not from duty, but as partner, companion. Maybe—" She stopped. "Maybe even more if you wish it. You cannot wish that. I cannot give children. I may not even be able to give normal love. My body is too weak and small." "Thomas, stop. I do not care for children. I do not care for your body. I care for you, the person who reads deep books and treats me as equal, who listens when I speak, who sees me as full human. That is what I want. People will judge us, white man and black woman together. It is against law most places. Even north we will face hate. I have faced hate all my life. At least this way I face it with someone I choose, not someone who owns me." I looked at her, this strong, wise, beautiful woman who somehow seemed to want me. "Are you sure?" "I am sure." We kissed there in the empty barn, rain loud on the roof, two people from worlds apart finding something neither expected. We reached Cincinnati early June, after almost 2 months' travel. The city was busy, full of free black people, abolitionists, former slaves making new lives. I used some remaining money to rent a small house in a part where mixed couples, though rare, were known. We said we were husband and wife, Thomas and Delilah Freeman. Freeman because Delilah had no family name as slave, and she picked that for its meaning. The war came in 1861. Neither could fight, I too weak, women not allowed, but we helped other ways. Our house became a stop on the Underground Railroad. Delilah, from her own years in slavery, helped new runaways learn freedom. I used law knowledge to help free black people with hard paper rules. We met Frederick Douglass once when he spoke in Cincinnati. After, we went to him and Delilah told our story. He listened close, then smiled. "You both took freedom in your own ways. Mrs. Freeman, you took it from a system that claimed to own you. Mr. Freeman, you took it from a system that tried to measure you by body alone. Both proved freedom is about choice, not what others say." Sarah became a teacher, helping freed people learn reading and numbers. Frederick became a doctor, caring for Cincinnati's black people. Liberty became a lawyer fighting for rights, using law to break the same chains that once held her mother. I lived longer than anyone thought. Doctors at 19 who said I was unfit for children thought I would not reach 30, but I lived to 42. 23 years with Delilah. 23 years of a life I chose, not one forced on me. I love you, Delilah Freeman. I love you, Thomas Freeman. Those were my last words. Delilah lived 18 more years, dying in 1900 at 65. She worked for rights those years, speaking of slavery and freedom, teaching young ones to choose right over ease. We lie together in Spring Grove Cemetery in Cincinnati under one stone that says, Thomas Beaumont Callahan Freeman, 1840 to 1882, Delilah Freeman, 1835 to 1900, married 1859. They chose freedom over ease, love over rules, and showed human worth is not set by body strength or place in society. Our 3 children lived good lives of service. Sarah's school taught over 1,000 freed people. Frederick cared for black patients 40 years. Liberty's law work helped end separating laws and guard rights. In 1920, Liberty wrote a book, From Property to Partnership, the story of Thomas and Delilah Freeman. It told our story, the white man called unfit for children and the enslaved woman called property, and how we both found freedom and love by fusing the names others gave us. Records keep our story alive. Thomas's birth in 1840, his doctor visits in 1858, trust money taken in 1859. Delilah's sale to Judge Callahan in plantation books of 1850. Cincinnati lists show Thomas Freeman clerk 1859 to 1882 and Delilah Freeman seamstress 1859 to 1900. Our Quaker marriage record lives. Our children's adoption papers remain in city files. Our stone still stands in Spring Grove, sometimes visited by family and those who study rare stories of freedom and love from slavery time. The story questions ideas about weakness, race, and worth. Thomas was not broken because his body grew wrong. He was wise, good, able to show great courage. Delilah was not property. Though law said so, she was strong, wise, worthy of freedom and choice. And Judge Callahan's plan to save his line instead started something better. 2 people finding freedom and making lives of choice, respect, and love. If Thomas and Delilah's story touches you, if you believe human worth goes beyond body or law place, if you believe love and freedom can win even in dark days, then pass this story on. Remember, history holds many who beat great odds, who chose right over ease, who proved labels do not make us. Our choices do. Their good continues in family who still work for right, in the example of choosing good over easy, and in the reminder every person deserves freedom, respect, and the chance to write their own life.